Morning, Greg.
Good morning, Diane. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
How's everything in East County?
East County is fine. It's hot. It's hot.
Too.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we are ready.
Very good. I got 8:59. Okay. We'll call this Wednesday, July 8th, 2020 meeting of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors to order. This is our regular land use hearing, but we also have air pollution control items and flood control items and sanitation district items. In order to get started, I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that all 5 supervisors are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. Additionally, before we begin, any members of the public that wish to provide oral testimony during today's meeting, please review the instructions posted on the Clerk of the Board's webpage. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Jacob?
Here.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Present.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Here.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Here.
Chairman Cox?
Here. We'll proceed now to public communications. This time we welcome public comments on items which are not on today's agenda. I understand that we have 4 public comments, e-comments that were submitted prior to the meeting, and I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and read those comments at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first non-agenda comment is from Kenny Gwynn. It reads, "Please, SD Council, don't defund the police or give the police money to the community. We don't want to be like Detroit, New York, Los Angeles, Cleveland, or Vallejo. Those cities gave police money to communities, and now crime is increasing. We must hold cops accountable. If an officer complains about another officer, we must take it seriously. Make police do de-escalation training at least once a month, increase hand-to-hand combat training, partner police with community, don't defund the police." The second comment is from Jennifer Dunaway. "I listened yesterday to the overwhelming telecomments on the disapproval of further shutdowns and restrictions. Ms. Jacobs stated that we were being led by science and data. Please explain how data and science support shutting down museums and entertainment when the outbreaks have been at other businesses. Please explain how our hospitals and ICU data warrant more shutdowns. What data and science are you looking at? Who developed the list of businesses to close and why? Explain yourselves." Third comment is from Tamlin Glasscock. It reads, "The COVID death rate has decreased, so why are we shutting things down again? Obviously, we will have more cases of COVID with more testing, but the hospitals aren't being overrun. Even CDC said that they may be taking away the word epidemic caused because the death count is decreasing, not increasing. Don't run San Diego into financial ruin." The last comment is from Alma Costeco. It reads, "I beg to stop the eviction moratorium. I have a tenant not paying rent since February. His case has nothing to do with COVID. He has 2 prior evictions, one in La Jolla and Orange County. He defaulted in February and is still in my house. My 3 children and I need to move back into our house. My husband is deployed to Kuwait. My tenant is the only person living in a 3-bedroom house. I have no place to go but a room at the Navy Lodge with my children. We borrowed money from my mother-in-law retirement plan." That concludes non-agenda public comment this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. We'll move on now to the approval of the statement of the proceedings and the minutes for the regular meeting of June 24th, 2020, and the Air Pollution Control District Board meeting of June 23rd, 2020, and the June 24th, 2020 meeting, and the Flood Control District meeting of April 21st, 2020, and the Sanitation District meeting of May 20th, 2020. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
There's a motion by Supervisor Jacob.
Second.
Seconded by Supervisor Fletcher. Is there any discussion? If not, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob.
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar.
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond.
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Very good. We'll move on now to the formation of the consent calendar. All items on today's agenda will be considered a part of the consent calendar unless there's a desire on the part of the public or members of the board to pull items for further discussion. Let me first ask the clerk of the board if there's any items that have been requested to be pulled by the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are no requests by the public to speak on any items. Therefore, all items on the regular agenda, as well as the County of San Diego Air Pollution Control Board, the County of San Diego Flood Control District, and County of San Diego Sanitation District agendas may be placed on the consent calendar for your board's consideration.
Very good. I'll now go to my colleagues to ask if there's any items they would like to have pulled or comments that they would like to make, starting with Supervisor Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No items to pull, but I do have comments on 2 items. First, on item number 8, which is a sanitation ordinance update. This item really does show that government works for the people. And a lot of county staff had their hands in this and did a great job. Last year, there was an applicant that approached my office with a problem. In short, they were stuck moving forward because the county sanitation ordinance required that all residential structures must have their own sewer lateral line. On the surface, this makes perfect sense. However, in this case, the applicant would need to trench a line at a very long distance at a very significant cost. The solution was to tap into adjacent properties lateral and work with the property owner on a legal binding agreement to address the long-term operations and maintenance of the sewer system. Unfortunately, our ordinance didn't allow that to happen. So the item today fixes that and provides the flexibility needed for shared laterals if certain conditions are met. These are small changes that relatively go unnoticed that help spur development. But there's even more good news in this item. During the review of our ordinance, staff also was able to work with the Regional Water Quality Control Board and increase the effluent discharge rate for the Julian wastewater facility. In the end, this will allow the Julian plant to accept, treat, and dispose of additional wastewater from the Julian service area, including from development of vacant parcels or redevelopment of existing businesses in compliance with the Julian Community Plan. This solves a long-standing issue and removes a big stopgap from future development in the community of Julian. I want to especially thank the Department of Public Works staff for all their hard work and their commitment to updating our sanitation ordinance and solving these issues. It's a great example, again, of how government can work for the people and has. I want to especially thank Bill Morgan and Dan Brugadier for their leadership on this matter. In addition, my appreciation goes to Kay Kim, who is DPW's engineering manager in charge of plant operations, and PJ, the administrative manager for the sanitation district. Thank you all for a job well done. Item number 11, which is the 2019 annual MSCP report. It was way back in 1999. I know you, Mr. Chairman, remember this well, that I co-authored our county's multi-species conservation plan, which the board had supported. Our vision was very simple. It was to balance development and conserve our region's protected habitat and species. Our goal was also to preserve over 98,000 acres. So just last year, 623 acres were added to our plan, bringing our total preservation to 79,188 acres. That's 80% of our goal, and we're only 21 years into a 50-year plan. But these numbers only reflect what's counted into our MSCP plan. There's more open space that has been preserved. It doesn't include all the other parkland and open space that we've acquired, as well as our achievements working with our state and federal partners. I would suspect our region has well over 100,000 acres that have been acquired to protect our natural resources, vital habitat, endangered species, and allows trails for people to get out and hike and enjoy nature. I want to thank the Department of Parks and Recreation, our state and federal partners, which we don't often get a chance to thank, and all our stakeholders that contribute to the overall health and success of a great plan. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor. We'll move on to Supervisor Gaspar.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll second the consent calendar.
Okay. And Supervisor Fletcher.
Thank you. No items to pull. I want to comment on APCD item number 4. I want to thank the staff for your hard work on the toxic hotspots effort. We know this rule is very important for protecting public health, especially during COVID-19, when we have seen quantifiable evidence and studies to show how poor air quality makes people more likely to die of COVID-19. And so it's important that we continue this effort and take action around improving our air quality. It's more important now than it was even when we started this process last year. I do want to say I fully support the 18-month extension as proposed and the 6-month reporting back. Provides a robust opportunity for continued collaboration and dialogue. We're also in a very dynamic situation. There's new health data about various chemicals that we want to make sure are incorporated into Rule 1210. Additional data is needed to support the proposed thresholds and to recommend a specific threshold for San Diego County. And so I support this effort, and I am excited about where APCD is headed with the formation of a new board coming next year and the restructuring of what we're doing. I'm very excited about where we can go as an entity and the work that we can do around clean air. And so I am supportive of item 4 and just appreciate everyone's work that's gone into it.
Very good. We'll move on then to our Vice Chair, Jim Desmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no items to pull and no comments.
All right, and then I have no items to pull, but I would just reiterate the comments that Supervisor Jacob made in regards to the MSCP report, which is item number 11 on our agenda. That was a major accomplishment when that was put together through the efforts of Supervisor Jacob in 1999, and it is gratifying to see how far along we've come. And it's been a great partnership, I think, with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. By Supervisor Jacob, seconded by Supervisor Gaspar to approve the consent calendar. Would the clerk please identify those items we'll be voting on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All items on the Board of Supervisors regular agenda, as well as the County of San Diego Air Pollution Control Board, the County of San Diego Flood Control District, and County of San Diego Sanitation District on the consent calendar for your board's consideration.
Aye.
Supervisor.
I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of firefighter EMT Christopher James Thompson. Chris passed away on July 4th at the young age of 28. Chris was a dedicated veteran, a committed firefighter paramedic, an active adventurer, a loving son, brother, and grandson, the world's best uncle, and an incredible mentor to his Gold Star mentee, Hunter. Chris served in the Navy and was excited to begin his career in the fire service. He successfully led 37 others as the academy leader for the 50th Palomar Basic Fire Academy, a role that demands dedication, teamwork, and selflessness. Chris was new to the Valley Center Fire family, joining the Valley Center Fire Department just 4 months ago. In a short time, he made a tremendous impact in the department of the Valley Center community. Chris loved volunteering at Active Valor, which is a combat veteran-run nonprofit organization dedicated to giving new purpose to veterans by pairing them as mentors to children of our nation's fallen heroes. Hunter, his mentee, had lost his father, who was also in the Navy, before he was born. Chris went out of his way through Active Valor to ensure Hunter always knew he was there for him. They were an inseparable pair, and he got to experience amazing memories together. Chris took full advantage of all the world had to offer. He loved nature and traveling when he wasn't working. He always put his family first and made time no matter what to be with his niece, Naya. The Valley Center Fire Protection District is flying their morning flag at both stations and have banded their badges. Many other North Zone fire agencies are also doing the same as a sign of respect and solidarity during this time of reflection. Today, we remember, honor, and appreciate Chris's service as he dedicated his life to protecting and serving our country and our citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. I have 3 adjournments in memory today. The first one is to ask that we adjourn today's meeting in honor of Jordine Scoff von Wantak, a Coronado resident and retired Navy captain who blazed a trail for women in our military. She passed away on June 22nd at the age of 89. Mrs. von Wantak was born as a coal miner's daughter in a small town in eastern Pennsylvania. After earning her master's degree in English literature at the University of Michigan, she taught high school English for 2 years. Frustrated by the fact that women were paid less than men, she joined the Navy in June of 1956. She rose through the ranks during a stellar 30-year naval career, serving as a cryptologist for the Naval Communications in London, working at the U.S. Fleet Forces Command in Norfolk, Virginia, and serving as an executive officer at the Naval Training Center here in San Diego. Her lasting legacy was cemented in 1970 when she became pregnant with her daughter. She wrote to the Navy Secretary asking him to grant a policy waiver and became the first female naval officer in the United States to remain on active duty while raising a child. After she retired from the Navy, she threw herself into her lifelong passion for the theater and became an active member of the Old Globe Volunteer Auxiliary. Mrs. von Wantak is survived by her daughter, Leanne. A memorial service for Mrs. von Wantak will be held tomorrow morning. Actually, I think it's this morning in Coronado, and she will later be laid to rest as the hero that she is in Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. The second adjournment that I have is to ask that we adjourn today's meeting in honor of Robert Matthews, a lifelong educator and civil rights activist who was a leader of our region's African American community. He passed away on July 3rd at the age of 90. Mr. Matthews was born in a small town in Kansas and served in the United States Army during the Korean War. After the war, he earned a master's degree in childhood education from Columbia University and then moved to San Diego. Over 3 decades, he became a teacher, administrator at several schools in the San Diego Unified School District and became eventually the second African-American principal in the school district's history. He was a leader in the community, helping to start the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Parade and serving as its chairman for 3 decades. He was instrumental in relocating what is now known as the Jackie Robinson Family YMCA from a temporary location to a beautiful upgraded building. In addition, he had leadership roles in the NAACP, the Urban League, the Kiwanis Club, and the San Diego Zoological Society, and many other organizations. Mr. Matthews is survived by his wife, Ardell. Robert Matthews was a kind and gentle man who worked so hard to improve his community, and he will certainly be missed. The last adjournment that I have today is that we asked to adjourn today's meeting in honor of Anthony Medina, a Chula Vista resident and lawyer who worked to make legal services accessible to all. He died on July 3rd in a tragic hiking accident. He was just 36 years of age. Mr. Medina was born and raised in Chula Vista, graduating from Hilltop High School and the University of San Diego. He graduated from Cal Western School of Law in 2012, and while studying there, became heavily involved in community organizing and volunteering. He volunteered at Juvenile Hall and the South Sudanese Community Center as a mentor and English teacher. He worked and interned at the United States Equal Opportunity Commission, the San Diego Employee Rights Center, the American Civil Liberties Union, and the California Innocence Project. After law school, Mr. Medina established his own law practice and later founded People's Legal Services, a nonprofit law firm to provide cost-effective and accessible representation to underserved families and individuals. Mr. Medina is survived by his parents, Richard and Thelma, and his brother, Richard. Anthony Medina was dedicated and passionate about serving the people of his community, and he will be greatly missed. That completes the items that we have before us today. We will adjourn to closed session for consideration of the carryover items from yesterday's closed session meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be on Tuesday, August 3rd. Let me ask Mr. Potter if there's anything else that we need to cover before we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you noted, the board will now recess into closed session to continue consideration of those matters listed under item 23 on the regular agenda from yesterday and item 1 on the County of San Diego Sanitation District from yesterday's agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out after the conclusion of closed session today.
Very good. With that, we will stand adjourned.